This shocking story happened in the Kurov region and horrified the entire Soviet Union. On one summer morning in 1989, a resident of the Russian village of Alexandrovka, Luba Mikhalitsyna, who worked as a milkmaid on a farm, did not come to work. Everyone knew that Luba abused alcohol, but she always came to her shift and did her job properly. Perhaps that was the reason she was not fired from the farm. Noticing that Mikhalitsyna was not there, the chairman thought that she was sick and would definitely come the next day, or at least let someone know about herself. However, several days passed, but she never showed up. Luba's colleagues began to worry and assumed that something had happened to her, so several people went to her home. Someone suggested that Luba had simply gone on a drinking binge, but the reality turned out to be more frightening. The door of the house was open, so the women went inside and started calling Luba, but there was no answer. They entered the living room and froze in horror. Luba was lying on the floor, showing no signs of life. She had suffered a heart attack several days earlier. She had complained about heart pains before, but continued to drink alcohol. Luba's colleagues had not yet recovered from the shock when they heard a strange rustling coming from a large wooden chest standing on the floor. One of the women slowly approached it, opened the lid, and was horrified. Inside the chest sat a strange-looking creature with twisted arms and legs, shaggy, dirty, and foul-smelling. It was swearing loudly and calling for a dog. This creature turned out to be a girl of an indeterminate age. Regaining their senses, the women called the chairman of the kolkhoz. At the sight, the grown, strong man fainted. Luba Mikhalitsyna lived a quiet and inconspicuous life. She almost did not communicate with anyone, was not married, and apparently had no children. To brighten her loneliness, the woman liked a bottle of moonshine or wine, but it could not be said that Luba was a hopeless alcoholic. She was hardworking, and there were no complaints about the quality of her work. At the beginning of 1977, the woman realized that she was pregnant, but it was unknown by whom. No one had seen her with a man, but there were rumors that from time to time, the local tractor driver visited her. Luba hid her pregnancy, and it was easy for her to do so because she was rather plump. No one in the village even suspected that she was carrying a child. One day, in secret from everyone, Luba gave birth to a daughter right in her own home. At that time, if an unmarried woman gave birth to a child, and especially if it was unknown by whom, her reputation was, to put it mildly, unenviable, especially in a village where everyone knew each other. Not only would people point fingers at such a woman and whisper "slut" behind her back, but she could also be driven out of her job or even out of the village because everyone believed that such a woman seduced other people's husbands. Luba understood that she could become an outcast, so she decided to hide her pregnancy. And when she gave birth to a daughter, she could think of nothing better than to lock her in a 1.5-meter wooden chest, where the little girl ended up spending 12 years of her life. Luba was afraid that the neighbors would hear the baby crying, so she took her daughter out of the chest only to feed her and then locked the unfortunate child back inside. The girl had no name. Later, doctors called her Masha. Several years passed. No one suspected that Luba had a daughter. She went to work as usual and milked cows, but she began to abuse alcohol more heavily. Luba's colleagues also recalled that she started asking more often for leftover bread in the canteen, saying it was for a dog, but most likely the woman was taking food for her daughter. Only God knows how the unfortunate child managed to survive in such conditions. It is hard to imagine what it is like to be locked in a dark chest for a whole 12 years. In all those years, Masha had not seen anyone except for the dog and her insane mother, who never intended to let her out. The girl ate only stale bread with milk that Luba brought from work. She had never tasted or even seen sweets, fruit, or any kind of treats. The state Masha was in when she was discovered shows that Luba had practically never let her out of the chest. She looked more like a wild animal caught in a trap than a child. The little girl hissed and growled at the women who had found her, never taking her eyes off her mother lying on the floor. From her appearance, it was obvious that she had not been bathed in a very long time. She was dirty and unkempt. Her body gave off an unpleasant smell. Soon, the news of the discovery spread throughout the entire area. Doctors and police immediately arrived. The girl was taken to the District Children's Hospital in Kotelnich. The training was difficult. Masha looked at everything with wild eyes, ate only with her hands, and accepted only bread and milk. The girl could hardly speak. She knew only a few curse words, which she had probably heard from her mother. Masha was only 60 centimeters tall. That is, she practically had not grown since birth. Due to her constant time spent in the narrow chest, the girl's legs were twisted and completely underdeveloped. She could not move independently. Doctors found no genetic abnormalities. All her bodily deformities were solely due to her long confinement in a cramped space, which prevented her from growing. Soon, Masha was transferred to the children's ward of the regional psychiatric hospital, where doctors diagnosed her with severe intellectual disability. At the age of 12, her development barely reached the level of a 2-year-old. In the orphanage, Masha had to be introduced to the simplest household items. She did not know what a comb was, what a bed was for, or that it was necessary to wash every day. After some time, Masha was placed in a boarding home for children with disabilities. The best teachers, speech therapists, and psychiatrists began working with her. Masha started to make contact and soon began interacting with other children. The doctors were pleased with the positive progress in her development and continued to work intensively with her. Now, Masha is 46 years old and still resides in the special institution. She has socialized well and easily communicates with others. She has learned to construct simple sentences, hold conversations, and has even made friends. Her height has increased to 1 meter, but Masha still has not learned to walk. She moves around in a wheelchair. The girl from the chest loves most of all to watch various shows and films about dogs on TV. Masha almost has no memory of her childhood. Perhaps her brain simply blocked these memories to protect her from psychological trauma. Childhood is given to a person both for socialization and for the development of the body and mind, as well as for simple joys. In the end, Masha was deprived of both, yet it is remarkable how she looks at the world optimistically, does not despair, and enjoys each day she lives.